inspire, and make you think. The future is now. Topics and music that affect your life from Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
Hi guys, I am Sunny Chayes and you are with me today on Contagious Optimism, the Contagious Optimism radio show. We are very, very blessed and excited today because we have two guests who both have flown in from other lands. We have David MEZZAPELLE, who has flown in from Florida to be with us, and he is, of course, the author of Contagious Optimism, the founder of the Contagious Optimism movement, and a busy, busy guy. And we're going to be chatting with him first, but I also want to let you know that we have LAMA MARUT, who is also here from Australia. He's graced us with his presence here as he's hitting his American tour. He's hitting 16 cities, and we grabbed him for today. So we're really excited about having him here. And he wrote a book called Be Nobody. So as I said earlier, wild title, great book. So David MEZZAPELLE, some of you know, is my partner on this show, actually. And he is just a rockin' human being. There's so many people in the world who write books and sing songs and speak and do all these things and talk about a lot of great stuff, but David is the real deal. So I get kind of choked up when I talk about that, David, because you really, really are. I just adore how you move through your life and what you bring, and it's so perfect that you're here with LAMA MARUT because we're going to be having such an interesting kind of weaving of the conversation, guys. So stay with us and let us bring on the wonderful and fabulous David MEZZAPELLE.
Thank you. Thank you, audience. It's great to be here.
So excited. Oh, my God. I'm so
excited
psyched.
to be here. Yes, I'm psyched, too. I'm psyched, too. That's very nice. And I feel the same about you. I love being here, and I love when we're in studio together. It's so much more exciting and dynamic.
It is. You know, I have people who, like LAMA MARUT's publicist actually asked me, well, can you do a call-in or Skype or whatever? And it's like, no, that will be no. Because it's so much more fun here. And luckily we're in L.A. where everybody seems to come eventually.
Yeah, that's right. People get here. It's a destination.
They just, especially if they're in the world of making a difference, L.A. is a mecca for everything. It's sort of hedonistic here, and it's the most spiritual, and it's the most awesome weather. So, guys who are around, isn't it?
Oof,
do you appreciate that being, well, you have pretty nice weather in Florida, but this is like perfect, especially on the west side.
And now we're entering summer, so it is hot where I live.
And that is why I am so summery today with my yellow and turquoise for those of you who cannot see. So anyway, David, let's get to it. Let's talk about some stuff.
Sure, absolutely.
I want you to I'm handing you the torch. I want you to go for it and just tell me whatever you want to start with, and then we'll go from there.
Sure, I actually have a great topic.
That's good.
Absolutely.
Because it's live.
It's just dead air. No, Ann Landers, she had this statement, let go of the fear that you don't have enough and the world comes to you. And I love that statement. And, the last few weeks with everything we have going on between the book series and the live events and all the other projects, these are all good things. They're all blessings. But, it's still like, you're going and going and going day and night and planes and travel and red eyes. And it hit me Monday morning. I woke up here in the hotel. And it hit me, you know what? Not only am I fortunate where this is all going, but I feel really good about it. I'm going to let go of all the stresses of all the busy work and just sort of take a deep breath and let things flow. And you know what? I've had the best 3 days.
Awesome.
I've been more productive, ironically, worried about less. It just makes so much sense. So if I'm going to live my life, I'm going to commit to not stressing anymore. And I tell you, I feel freaking good.
Yay! One thing that I noticed too about in response to that, I've had a similar experience in the last couple of weeks too, because sometimes I feel like, oh gosh, at the end of the day, I didn't accomplish enough, or just what did I actually do today, or there's so much more to be done, or there's so much more maybe I have in my world that I could and should, the shoulda, coulda kind of stuff. And then I read somewhere, and then I started doing it where I actually wrote down, even midday, what I accomplished. And what I found was that I was doing stuff that a lot of people don't do in their whole lifetime. Yes. But because it was so graciously coming to me and graciously going out, like getting Ricky on the show last week, that just happened in an hour of making some calls, although there was some, that we did the groundwork before, but that particular day I was feeling like, well, I'm not really doing enough. And I was visiting my sister, actually. I was sort of like playing hooky, but not, because that just happened. And so many other things like that. So I find at the end of the day, if we all just do that, it's like, well, what did actually happen?
Right.
And I think when we do it with grace and with fun, it doesn't feel like work.
Exactly.
It's so much easier.
It's very true. You talk about being optimistic versus pessimistic. It basically comes down to, why be stressed and pessimistic and give yourself that stress when the chances are it's all going to work out anyway. So you might as well be optimistic. You got nothing to lose. Versus the stress you will definitely gain by being negative. So I just don't see the point anymore.
Well, good for you. Yay. We have applause for that.
Thank you.
So
Audience?
I love it. I love it. I'm telling you, my dad used to have an expression, "This too shall pass." Oh my gosh, I love how our audience gets so quiet. Thank you, John, for making them be quiet, so we can focus on our brilliant words. Yes, my dad used to say, "This too shall pass," and I remember as I go along in my life, it's like I sometimes stress out about something that isn't really happening. In other words, I'm having an experience of something that isn't really happening. So it's like, okay, well, I can just not have that experience that's sort of negative, that's sort of wigging me out. I can just choose, let's not do that.
That's right.
So not fun.
And it's funny you say that, because in the contagious optimism business, what we do is we capture stories from people all over the world, stories of perseverance. And the purpose is to help people find their silver linings. Because when people hear stories of how others have persevered, it gives them hope. And I believe hope is the foundation of optimism. And one of the blessings for me in this project is capturing these stories and reading these stories. I realize, life could be so much worse. There's so many people that have things so much worse. Why do I stress when I'm fortunate enough to be doing what I'm doing and helping others at the same time? So I feel very fortunate to not only do what I do, but to help others find their silver linings because of these stories.
So
it's amazing. It's amazing.
And so I'm going to just kind of weave in a little bit of Be Nobody, because in that book, well, first of all, there's one quote that I actually love when we're talking about just kind of feeling stress, and it's, "Any task is easier if it's done selflessly rather than egotistically." So in that way, it is it just glides, and John will bring it up too, I'm sure. But the other thing, there's a story in the book about a mustard seed, which is that a young lady lost her son, and she was just so upset. This is a metaphor. And God says, "Oh, I will bring your son back, but go to everyone in the village and get a mustard seed from everyone who has not had a similar situation or something that's very painful in their own life." And of course, she came back with no mustard seeds. So, this again, like you're saying, in the communication and the connection of knowing that we really are just one big happy human family.
Exactly.
And we're just going through it, doing the best we can with what we have wherever we are, right?
Yeah, and it's funny because when people go through, say, a stock market crash or divorce or death, they go through all these things. They think it's the end of the world, and they think, "Oh my God, I'm alone in this." It's just a natural human reaction. But the bottom line is that for many, many years, millions, if not billions of years, people have been through it before. There's been economic issues. There's been wars. There's been people die, whatever it may be.
Famine.
So you're not alone.
Like that.
You're not alone. It's not the first time things are bad. It's not the first time things are good.
Right.
And so you just roll with it. Say life is doing what it's supposed to do. And if we gain that wisdom from it, it only helps us going forward. And Harold Payne, a friend of ours named Harold Payne, he's a songwriter, musician. He has this great expression. He talks about all the things in his life that he's picked up. He puts them in this virtual pocket of his, and he calls them little time-release capsules of wisdom. So whenever he's going through an issue in his life, he pulls out of his memory bank one of these little things of wisdom he learned along the way.
I love it.
I love that, right? Time-release capsule of wisdom. I can't stop saying that. It
Well,
just sounds cool.
I love that so much. A friend of mine from my birthday, which was recent, gave me this book that says, with little notes, see my book that says ridiculously good ideas. Is
Look
that
at
like the best?
Yeah, it's very
So
cool.
so I have some little ideas in here for today.
I
Hopefully,
like the color too.
I do too. It's like, okay, very poppin'.
Yeah.
So I
great.
want to chat a little bit. We're going to be able to chat a little bit more with you, and then we're going to bring LAMA MARUT on. But I want to know, like, what's up? What's up? And what's new with you? What's going on that you want to share with our peeps that
Sure.
are
Well,
so happy that you're here?
I appreciate that. So our second book is coming out this fall. It'll be more Contagious Optimism. The name will probably be 10 Habits of Highly Optimistic People, because people can relate to that theme.
Nice.
And then within each habit will be 10 to 15 stories. And then we're releasing a whole series of themed editions. So we'll have Contagious Optimism Relationships, Contagious Optimism Executive Edition, which will be CEO stories.
Cool.
Contagious Optimism Autism, stories of families with autism. Contagious Optimism Sports, and Contagious Optimism Health and Wellness. So we have all that going on. Our live series will continue with our next event in October here in Thousand Oaks. And I think I mentioned to you last time, we're working on a clothing line. Every time we wear our volunteer shirts from our events, it says Contagious Optimism, and everybody wants to buy these clothes. So we decided to design a line of clothing that says, pick it up, pass it on, Contagious Optimism. And that will be our another project. And our money, our royalties and everything we make, we share with charities. So we have this altruistic element to what we do. So that makes it really exciting. I feel more fulfilling than just a for-profit.
I love that.
Thank you.
So I'm
And you're a big part of this. You've been part of all of this. And
Yeah, thank you.
I really appreciate that. I really
Thank
do.
you. So I'm going to ask you something, and you may not answer it right now, but as we're going along, I want to have you think about it. I want you to, do you have a story?
Do I have a story?
Yeah.
About me or about
yes,
or
about
people in the
you.
book?
No, about you.
Oh.
And if you, I mean, if I'm totally putting you on the spot, see,
No.
this is what happens. You never know what's going to go on when you get around me.
Right. Well, you know, it's great you asked me that, because we talk about the the Ann Landers quote I mentioned. So when I was grammar school time frame, I played baseball, and talk about letting go of your fears. I was always average, but I wanted to be better than average, and I stressed myself out wanting to kill the ball, wanting to have home runs and grand slams. And because of that, overthinking it, I was always an average player, no matter how much I practiced. Then here we are in the city championships in Stamford, Connecticut, where I'm from originally. And we have bases loaded, and it's up to me to hit something decent, to drive in runs, to at least tie, so we could, potentially win. So I'm like, oh God, I'm the worst guy to get up there at this point, because I already stressed myself out. I get up there, and I said, you know what? I'm not going to stress about this anymore. I'm just going to get up, pretend there's nobody on base, and it's a practice game where I actually play well in practice games. Got up, knocked a triple, we won the game. And to make the story even better, after that all happened, my dad comes running down the bleachers to give me a big hug. My dad was in Japan, but he came home knowing I was in the city championships. My mom said, hey, maybe if you can come home early and surprise David, that would be great. So here my dad comes home from Japan and gives me this big hug. I didn't expect him there, and I had my best hit of my life at that point. And that's one of my favorite personal sports stories.
I love that. Well, one other thing I want to talk about, because one of the things I'm noticing lately in my life is the idea of we human beings doing more creative things in our lives, doing more of our passions. Perhaps at different times in our lives, we've done things for money because we needed to, we wanted to. There was an family expectation or a personal expectation. That's the journey we should take. And what I'm finding in my doing the show, reading all the books I do. See, guys, I have many books around me. I have lots of
like
fun.
a library in here.
I have a lot. I do. I've got the Dalai Lama. I've got it all going on here.
Nice.
Is that people are really choosing to maybe keep their day job, but also bringing something else in. Maybe they are a financial person, but they've just always wanted to paint landscapes, and so they're doing it. And I don't know if it's just my little corner of the world, but I'm finding more and more people doing that. And I was just about to say over 30, but then a little voice said, No, son, it's not just over 30 people because I have my son and his group, and they're sort of understanding the idea of doing a couple things, you know,
Yes.
not just doing one thing, but kind of being able to somehow weave in the passions, weaving in the idea of not waiting for Godot, you know, not waiting forever to get to something, but to be doing it. So I'm saying that, and now I'm going to ask you about your band.
The Hangover Project?
Yes, I am. Oh my God, David, are you having so much fun
I
today?
can't believe that. That's really funny. That's really funny.
Come on, tell us about it.
We had a
By
band.
the way, guys, for you who don't know, David is totally cracking up and blushing, actually. But he's,
No.
you know, he's a yes, he is. But anyway, he's a biz guy. Like, this is what he does, and he's got like this perfectly coiffed hair and everything. If you can't see us, and you know, he's very, very dapper all the time. And so now he's going to
thank
tell
you.
us about. I mean, he looks very, you know, kind of conservative with a cool edge. But you know, so if you didn't know this about him, you would not know. So anyway, now we're going to
that's
talk
fine.
about you rocking it in high school with your. Hey, and I love the I love your band
I
name.
love the name. I love
And that,
saying
by the
it.
way, that's of course before Hangover 1, 2, and 3,
Yes.
obviously.
Oh yeah, way before. It was circa 1982 to probably 1991 between high school and college. So we had this band called the Hangover Project. And our banner was a Budweiser banner. It was totally illegal using their copyright, but it was okay.
Now, was it a beach towel?
It was like a beach towel.
Oh my
But it was a
God.
Budweiser. It looked like a
Right,
Budweiser
like the
label. It was a
big-
beach
big-
towel, and that was
big-
our. And all we played was the Police. That's it. We played Police songs over and over and over for talent shows and parties and whatever. We just set up a jam session, and I was a keyboardist.
Okay.
And if our bass player couldn't make it, usually he was fighting with his girlfriend. He couldn't make it. So I had a mini Moog, which is a kind of keyboard. On my right hand, I played the bass. In my left hand, I had a Korg, and I played. And if I had to sing with, you know, backup, I sang.
Did you play Hammond B3?
Yeah, I had a Hammond. Actually, I had a Hammond because I was a church organist, so I had a
Right.
Hammond, and that's what I played on.
Uh-huh.
But for the Hangover Project, it was a Korg and a Moog, and and the principal. It was a Catholic school, and the principal used to get so mad. We're like supporting alcohol. We're minors, and that was always an issue. We had fun. We really had fun. I missed that. That's cool.
And I asked you this before, but your hair was the same. You didn't have like long
Yeah, it
hair.
was just a few more grays now. Everything's exactly the same. I haven't. It's really funny, actually.
Yes, except you just have nicer blazers now.
Yeah.
You just had like more tattered not
Right.
tattered, but you know, not as nice fabric then. But you still rocked
Exactly.
it out in your
I had OCD then too, so I still had a clean closet and a clean car, but definitely my hair
Oh
was the
my
same.
God, I love it. So
Thanks for
now,
asking.
well, you're so very welcome. So I'm wondering if we're. I mean, I know you have a lot of projects going on,
Mm-hmm.
but if you're just going to be, I don't know, whipping out some tunes at some of the, you know, something.
Right.
One of our events or something, we're going to warm you up and get you on stage, I think.
Yeah, Harold was asking me if at a house concert if I would start jamming with him.
Yes, there we
And I
go.
said, "Oh God, I gotta start practicing."
There you go. But see, now that's a good thing.
Well, and I have a dream too, musically. I've always wanted to play bongos, and I've always wanted to play saxophone. And I'm gonna find the time to learn both of them.
You
There's
and
a little
Clinton.
app. There's an app on the iPhone. I could actually play bongos on my iPhone, but it's not the same.
No, no,
I don't want to venture
no.
that way. I want a real set of bongos.
Yeah. And the sax, of course,
Oh,
you
I
know.
love it. I love the sax.
That's like, you know, just the sexiest instrument on the planet Earth. So that'll be fun for you.
Thank you.
So
I'm
go for it.
excited.
Go for it,
Absolutely.
David. We're gonna, you know, you're way too young and yet old enough with the wisdom that you can like weave this in. Now, speaking of weaving in, I want to be weaving in. Our LAMA MARUT who's going to come, but we're going to take one little break because we're going to find out a little bit more about why we do this Contagious Optimism show in the first place.
Yes.
So, John, bring it on, and we will be back in a little moment. And before we do, I'm just going to remind you this is Sunny Chayes, Contagious Optimism Radio, and we have David MEZZAPELLE and LAMA MARUT with us. And John Williams, our fabulous engineer, will take us out with something cool, and we'll be back.
It's the Contagious Optimism Show with inspiring host Sonny Chayes, featuring best-selling author David MEZZAPELLE. Real people with real stories of perseverance and hope. Join Sonny and guests ranging from Contagious Optimism co-authors to world leaders as they find the silver lining. Better understand why optimism is so empowering. Be recharged, inspired, and perhaps surprised as they tap into the secrets of a joyful life. To celebrate the human spirit. Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Pacific on UBN Radio and Fridays at 3 p.m. Pacific on Gwen Network TV Stories. Contagious Optimism.
Hi, guys. We're back. I'm Sonny Chayes. It's Contagious Optimism Radio, and we have David MEZZAPELLE and LAMA MARUT with us. And we're going to be bringing in LAMA MARUT. And one of the first things that I want to tell you guys about him is that he wrote this really great book called Be Nobody. And I read it, and I really loved it. And it's all banged up, which, of course, every author tells me they love because I've got it underlined and all kinds of stuff going on here. And it's a phenomenal book about really the truth about how to get to happiness, and some things that David's already said tie in so beautifully. So I think we're just going to go ahead and bring on the Lama at this point, and then any of the wonderful things we will weave in about how fabulous you are as far as your, like bio thing goes. But at least this way we're not losing people out there. So welcome from Australia to our lovely, humble LA, California, land of the angels.
This is the best trained audience I've ever.
I know
encountered.
I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah.
So hi ho.
Hi, Sonny. It's great to be here.
Thank you so much. I really love this book. I love this book so much. I want to start by telling you something. When I was reading this book, there's just so much in it. It's very rich. And so at a point yesterday, I was like, okay, I'm going to take a break and just kind of be quiet, not necessarily meditate, but just kind of rest my mind for a little bit. And this is what came to me just quietly. This is like a kind of a prayer thing that came to me for me. Let me feel the peace of knowing that I don't know. Kind of good, huh, guys? I was like, oh, I'm writing that one down. But it is true, and that's sort of why I do this show. We were talking earlier, I'm sort of the seeker, and you guys are the sages. And I don't even mean that in a way, you're nodding your head, no, but I don't mean that in a way that I'm putting myself down. It is that I want to learn a lot of stuff. I want to learn a lot of stuff. And I also want to not be ignorant, and I want to bring to anyone and everyone so many nuances of life to make our existence here so much more peaceful and beautiful for ourselves, because we are all incredible human beings. I know I forget that sometimes. I know everyone forgets that sometimes. And through the journey of the weaving in and out of the moments of feeling bliss, the moments of feeling proud of ourselves, the moments of feeling like we just aren't doing enough, all the different things are super important. And so that's why I do the show. And so that's why I'm so grateful that both of you are here today to bring your expertise as the sages. So come and chat with us, Sage LAMA MARUT.
Boy, am I set up here.
No, because it's all good. But anyway, so just chat about something that you would like, and I will dive in at some point.
Well, what you were saying is very, very true. We're all special. We're all special somebodies. We're born special. We're born unique with our own sort of set of predispositions and talents and so forth. And then as we go through life, we get more and more uniquer. And it's good. It's important, I think, to have a sense of good, healthy self-acceptance of your uniqueness and specialness. But sometimes, especially in modern culture, I think that there's a kind of an overemphasis on the individual to the exclusion of the things that we share in common. And that link us to every other, special, human being. And so that's that's part of what I mean by being nobody, is to recognize that we're all equally special somebodies, and nobody's more special than anybody else intrinsically. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Beautiful. That's a beautiful statement.
So I'm going to read one thing from your book that I really love because I wrote on it. Whoa, must read. So I'm going to listen to my own notes. True happiness doesn't involve fulfilling the ego's needs for high status, the love and admiration of others, a beautiful body, or a trophy wife, or arm candy husband. True happiness, in other words, will not be an attribute of the lower, smaller individual self. It is only when we access our higher universal true identity that we experience the profound and unshakable euphoria we all seek. So I'd love for you to chat a little bit about that for our other sages and seekers out there.
Well, I was resonating with David's baseball story because, you know, it's precisely those moments that we drop the expectation, the goal orientation, the desire to be more of a somebody and just relax into life, that we actually are happiest and we perform the best. And so we all, I think, have a sort of direct experience of of the bliss of being nobody, of not having to be somebody and having something to prove all the time. This is what, you know, happens with a hobby. You know, this is why people are attracted to hobbies, is because they can forget themselves and just merge with the activity, you know.
I love what you're saying. So many people, they get so caught up in what they should be or working towards something that they're losing sight of the beauty of the world today, and they're losing sight of the beauty of the people around them. They're so caught up. I mean, you can just sit at a stoplight in a major city or even a town, and they got the phone and they're freaking out about something, and I said, why don't you stop, turn on the radio, look at the mountain if you got mountains, look at the water if you got waters, whatever it may be. But so many people are losing sight of so much because they're so worried about the future.
Yeah, that's right. And you were talking about this too in terms of your decision to just stop stressing out a couple of days ago or something like that.
Exactly.
And you know, in my book, I sort of have a little mantra on this. It's like this now. It's like this now, and it's always like this now, right?
That's right.
It's never
Because
not
now
like
is
this.
now.
Because now is now.
Exactly.
And of course, you have to keep up with that because now changes. But it's always like this now, and we spend so much of our time, you know, in the imaginary future or in the gone past, in the past that's past, and instead of like concentrating on the here and now and dealing with it, you know. Sometimes it's not like the this now that we wanted or expected or something like that, but it's like this now.
Right, that's great.
You know,
I love it.
So how are you? These are the cards that you've been dealt. In any given moment, you're dealt a hand of cards. Well, how best to play them?
Well, one of the things that I think happens with that too is I had Ricky Byers-Beckwith on the show last week, and we were talking about experiences going on as young people, and you speak a lot about this. So I just want to address the idea of sort of just where we go with our stories. She had a very unusual, but then again, not unusual. I mean, what does even that mean? A childhood. She had a way that could have been very painful, perhaps, but she got a big kick out of it. And she saw it as, you know, like she was sort of Mr. Magooing the whole thing. She saw it as an opportunity to get out of one place and into another place where she would actually have her own bedroom and a piano and whatever. I mean, she just didn't see the pain of it. And for me, my mom died when I was 10, and I know many people who had a similar situation. And I missed my mom, but for some reason, there was just a lot of things to be doing, and I was baking, and I was sewing, and I was doing music, and I just didn't go into a dark place at all about it. And I mean, I think people looked at me sort of like, uh-oh, when is the other shoe going to drop with Sunny? Because she's sort of, you know, she's just so high functioning. But I just really saw what was going on around me that was still amazing. My mom was sick for a bit. I knew that she was where she was meant to be. My dad remarried an amazing person. And I was just like feeling it all. But I realized when Ricky was talking about her situation and when we're talking about any of our stories that we really can, I mean, it's sort of a corny cliche thing, and it's like, well, you know, looking at it a certain way or feeling about it a certain way. But again, the truth is the glass half full, the glass half empty. But the truth is it really, truly is that. And when we look at something and we say, wow, it could have been worse, or only that
worse.
happened.
Yeah, much worse.
Only that happened, like that. So, what do you think about that?
Well, one of the commonalities that I was talking about before, one of the things that we share universally with every other living being, really, not just human beings, is the fact that we all have problems. We all suffer.
Yes.
And when it's us as an individual, we somehow think, well, how could this have happened? This is so unfair. All these kinds of sort of self-centered thoughts go through our minds. When we're suffering, we tend to be more self-centered than any
Ever.
other time.
So
it's
true.
It's very helpful to remember at those times that, first of all, everyone suffers. It's part of life, to have problems, to come and to deal with them. It's not just you,
Right.
Everyone has suffering, and suffering isn't quantifiable. It's a subjective state of mind. So for somebody may have a problem that somebody else looks at and says, well, that's nothing, just get over it already. But for them, it's a big thing,
Right, exactly.
So it's all inwards. So this is very helpful, I think. It can evoke a certain kind of compassion and sense of belonging to a larger whole, to recognize that we're all in the same boat here,
Exactly.
Yes.
And sometimes it's a Titanic.
Right.
Well, and I think that sometimes in the world of even make a difference, well, in the quote-unquote spiritual world or sacred world, there's this idea that everything, put on a happy face, everything should be great, everything should be fine. How are you doing today? Fabulous. How are you doing?
Yes.
Amazing. And I think that there is an element to that, and I think, sort of pulling yourselves up and shaking, or for myself, shaking myself off and saying, buck up, Sonny, get on going and, down the road there, ease on down the road. And there are times when I feel it is also important to feel sad, to take in emotions, to go through that journey, to feel, like you say in your book, to allow the world's issues or the world's conditions to not just be around us like we're some bubble, but to come in and to feel that and to feel the connection. And not, of course, let it bury us, but yet to feel deeply. And I think there's I know for me, everyone who knows me knows I'm very emotional, but I'm glad I am. I'm really glad I am.
Absolutely.
I
You should
wouldn't
always
trade
be
it.
yourself, and you should, and
Yeah.
that's absolutely right.
Well, the very recognition that that we all have problems and that we all suffer can turn the suffering into an opportunity, turn a problem into an opportunity to cultivate a little more compassion, cultivate a little more empathy, cultivate a little more sense of belonging to a larger whole, and not just atomistically circling the wagons around me.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I also think that one issue that's sort of come up for me lately that I'm really enjoying playing with is the idea of, we touched on a little bit earlier, in a particular day having a bit of maybe some pain or angst that goes on, a bit of bliss, a bit of journey, a bit of learning, a bit of not knowing, a bit of pride, and then sort of working through that. In other words, each day, like the many, many religions might say, or wise people, that as we start, it's the birth, and as we go to sleep, it's the death. So each day is such a huge journey, and to be able to just work it and if something happens, it might have happened for 20 minutes or 30 minutes. It doesn't mean I had a bad day. It means I had a bad 20 minutes, like that. And so to be able to just always know that we have the tools, we have the ability, and we're so lucky to live where we do, that we can weave in the bliss, we can weave in the passions, we can weave in the music, we can we weave in our, just all that yummy stuff, and the angst, the pain. Yes.
It's true. That's very true.
And to embrace change, because change is.
Oh, yeah.
Change.
Ooh, yeah.
Change is the only thing that doesn't change. Is change.
That's right.
That's
So
right.
it's always changing. Everything's changing.
That's right, like the mandala with the sand. Create that beautiful piece of work of art, and then it is destroyed to remind us that it just everything, moves through it. So I want to also talk about just quickly, I want to talk about what you're doing here. You're going to be going around and you're going to be speaking.
Yeah, I'm doing some promotion for the book beginning on Friday, June 6th, I think it is, book launch in LA, and then I'll be speaking at some bookstores around town. And the schedule is on my website, lamamarut.org.
Cool. So
Yeah.
I want you guys to check that out and know what's going on with that. And then I also just kind of, while we're in this moment, talk a little bit about Contagious Optimism Live, which is happening, and we have a little time for that, but in
Sure.
October 11th, so throw that on your calendars, guys.
That's right. And the website is contagious.optimismlive.com, where they could register and learn more. And it's in Thousand Oaks at the Thousand Oaks Performing Arts Center.
Perfect. And also, so it's just a little commercial, but anyway.
Yeah. Well, I have a story to share, too, if you'd
Okay,
like.
we'll dive right in.
Okay, it's because you're talking about life and appreciating life. You'll really love this. So one of the things we do is we go around to senior living communities. And not only do I give a little talk, but the best part is I capture stories from the residents because seniors have amazing stories. The greatest generation, the silent generation. I really love the stories. So recently we went down to San Diego to an area called Carmel Valley, and there was a senior living community called Emeritus. It's an assisted living and an independent living. Gave my usual talk. I told some stories and talked about the importance of optimism. And then what we do at the end of our talks is we encourage the residents to stand up, come to the microphone, and share their stories. And you have to break the ice. You got to get that one person. Once you get the first person to tell their story, wham! Talk about contagious. They all stand in line to share a story. But this particular event was so amazing and eye-opening. So here we are. It's probably one of the wealthier assisted living communities. The people that are living there are affluent. They have CEOs and big executives, major entrepreneurs. So the amazing thing about this particular event was every person who got up didn't talk about money. They didn't talk about their career. All they talked about was how much they loved their spouses. And all of them, their spouses were gone. It was men and women, but they were all basically single. They were all widows and widowers. But they all talked about the importance of all those years with that spouse or significant other. And they went on, some of them went on for like 40 minutes, half hour talking about them. I couldn't believe we had one guy. He was a Navy captain, World War II, had a million stories, worked with Patton, but didn't even go there. He just talked about his wife, and we were there. We just couldn't believe these people's appreciation for their loved ones. It was the best senior living experience we've had, and we've been doing this since 2010. So I wanted to share that because you're talking about appreciating life and being in the in and now. That was an in and now.
Yeah, I tell a similar story in the book.
You do? I was going to say, wait, huh?
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, about visiting my father in assisted care living when he was still alive. And how, all of these people who had these fabulous careers and all of that, it all comes down to like, is anyone visiting me, He would parade me around, not because I was special in anything, but because somebody had come to visit him, It's like, it all comes down to love, really, Does anyone love me, and did I manage to love anyone else?
Right. That's a great point. And it's funny because when we speak at colleges and high schools, we encourage students to go visit local senior living communities. Here all these people bring in animals. They bring in dogs and these nice dogs for the elderly to pet, and that's wonderful, and they should. I love dogs. But there's nothing wrong with human beings, strangers, walking down a hallway of a facility and just sticking their head in and saying hello. They don't realize that a simple hello and a smile will light these people's lives up.
That's right.
In their 90s, early 100s. It's very rewarding. We encourage everyone to do that. I'm glad you wrote about that. I'm looking forward to reading the book, actually.
When I was when you were speaking, I was so moved by what you were saying, as well as thinking what a beautiful connection I have with you two here. And I think that's so important. It's also, I've been told many times with people who are living on the street that the most painful thing for them is the feeling that no one sees them. It's not even so much that, okay, well, am I going to get $1 from that person? But it's this, I'm invisible. And I've also been told I do some work with incarcerated people, and I was also told that was a very similar feeling, too, that they felt that they were in a cage and that they were disconnected from the human race. And not a good feeling. Not a good feeling at all. I mean, have food, have money, have all of that, but if we're not feeling connected to the human race, that's, by far the most painful thing. And I think that's what you're talking about so much. I mean, it's just kind of chat about the book, Be Nobody, again, such an interesting title, but it's really about letting go of the idea that we need to be somebody. It's sort of that expression of gilding a lily. We already are somebody.
Mm-hmm.
We already are. So knowing that we are all the same. You and I were talking before about that gentleman, and I don't remember who it was, but he was a very prominent person who did a commencement speech about 2 years ago at a very, very prominent college. And this particular speech was very controversial, and it was all over the internet and the news and everywhere, because he literally said to this very well-heeled, I don't want to say which college it is, but it was a very nice Ivy League college, none of you are special.
Right.
Because
I remember that.
Because
speech.
everyone's
yes,
special.
because everyone is, and
Yeah.
yet you got this education, you got this, you have these parents, and you're not special, people. And I thought, whoa! I mean, and he definitely went out on a limb to go, to do that in that place at that time and everything. And yet, that is exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
The pressure that we have. You were talking about Madonna in this book. I read, I kind of I earmarked that to read, but just basically about how she feels the pressure always of not really being enough or not being Madonna enough and all of that. And there's so many cases of that. Clark Gable and I know a lot of famous people myself, are very, very well considered people who just you wake up every day sort of saying, whoa, there's so much more I should be doing, or I just didn't do enough. So again, take a deep breath and know that we're enough.
Wayne Gretzky, the great hockey player, said the problem with being Wayne Gretzky is I always get compared to Wayne Gretzky.
I love it.
Oh my
That is
gosh.
terrific.
I love this one thing that you said in the book. I'm just going to quote the Dalai Lama because I like him.
Who doesn't like the Dalai?
Yes. And this is actually, you know what? I'm going to come back to this because this has to do with our separation out, and I want to just talk about that a little bit. Another thing about, again, being in cages or being in any way that we're in a cage. It can even be in our own personal life where we've sort of walled ourselves off. And again, in our community, we have this opportunity. We can buy houses where we put cages or fences around. We can live in apartments. I mean, there's been so much talk about the sort of disconnection that we have as a human race because we've been able to. We've had the money, we've had the dinero to do that, where before, and in, of course, Aboriginal societies, people are very reliant upon each other to get through a day, where we kind of can just go to the grocery store and buy our food. We don't have to grow it or pick it or anything. And so that community connection that we've had for thousands and thousands of years, in the last really 100 years, has been a little bit different. So, and you and I were talking about the idea of the disconnect even in religions, sort of my religion's better than yours, or my political party's better than yours, or I'm cooler because I'm a vegetarian. Well, I'm cooler because I'm a vegan, So what do you say to that?
Well, I think we have competing drives in each of us. I call it the angel and the devil. Let's start with the devil. The devil is the sort of me first kind of attitude, the egotism, the selfishness, and there is that in all of us, and there always has been. The religious traditions identify this as a huge problem, and for thousands of years, but it's been exacerbated in modern society, where there's been, as you say, Sonny, a certain kinds of various forces that have come together to make a certain kind of individualism not only possible but rewarded and sort of celebrated. So there's that, but then at the same time we have this competing force of wanting to belong to something bigger than ourselves.
Yes.
And that's the one that sort of moves us towards wider communal identities, national identities, family identities, and so forth. which is, fine and good as far as it goes. But then sometimes those very communal identities can be repositioned as different kinds of individual identities.
Right.
I'm a Buddhist, you're a Christian. I'm this, you're that.
Exactly.
And then just reposition the whole problem of isolation and differentiation and antagonism between people.
That
Oh, yeah.
separateness.
That's a great point. Wow.
Earlier we were talking about Ubuntu, which some of you may know, but and I'm actually wearing an Ubuntu bracelet, but I want to read something that you put in your book about Ubuntu, and Archbishop Desmond Tutu talks about it a lot. It's sort of we have the contagious optimism sort of movement, feeling, all of the different products that go around it, but really at the end of the day, as some people say, it's about creating this message to people that if we are optimistic and we can even be optimistic for 5 minutes or 1 minute or whatever it is, that little bit, that little pebble in the water, it goes out and it does make a difference. And the Ubuntu is the same thing. And so I'm going to read this little bit that Archbishop Desmond Tutu, and you can find it in Be Nobody. My humanity, well, and actually I'll back up a little bit. There's an African concept called Ubuntu, which is summarized in the proverb, I am because you are, and explained by Archbishop Desmond Tutu in this way. My humanity is inextricably bound up in theirs. We belong in a bundle of life. We say a person is a person through other people. It is not, I think, therefore I am. It says rather, I am human because I belong. I participate. I share. Oh, that just gets me. So that's what we're all doing, isn't it?
It's really nice, too. It makes complete sense.
I mean, that's what contagious optimism is.
Right.
It's opening up the possibility of connecting in a way that people may not understand is possible, but they can because it is possible.
Oh, yeah.
And when people feel it, it is contagious.
Yeah, when you're positive, you exude energy and you exude light, and it is contagious.
And joy and
Everybody
fun.
around you picks it up. The people having the crummiest days when they're around happy people, it lifts them up.
Mm-hmm.
It truly is contagious. And conversely, and I mentioned this before, conversely, when you're around negative people, naysayers and cynics, it has the opposite effect. So avoid them, or at least don't listen to them, because there's no reason.
Yeah.
In Buddhism, they call this interdependence, that we all exist interdependently. So a connection actually isn't an option. It is the case. We are all connected, and our sense of self is formed relationally. So if I'm a father, it requires that I have a son or daughter. A mother has to have in order to be a father or mother, we have to have a son or daughter, right? In order to be an interviewer, you have to have somebody that you're interviewing. And that's the case just universally. We are all already in relationship. It's just recognizing that's the problem. We get this sort of self-centered idea that somehow I'm an island, No man or a woman is an island. We're all connected.
Exactly. Let's see. And there was one thing that you were saying, and there were so many different sort of words and things in your book that I really liked, where you were bringing forward different Sanskrit words, and even the word ignorance. I love how you chat about that a little bit. That it's really, it's sort of misknowing.
Yes.
It's not, and that's one of the reasons that I do this show is that myth busting, spiritual myth busting. It's like we think something, but let's bust through that and know, again, even in the stories of contagious optimism or the live event or the people or the authors or, in this book and all the people that you see along the way and on the journey, there are many things that people get a little stuck in. We all do. I mean, we all do. But that's the fun of myth busting, right? And cracking through that, and so the ignorance is misknowing, basically. And what is the Sanskrit word?
Avidya.
Yeah, I knew you would pronounce it correctly. I wasn't going to try it.
and the fundamental form, ignorance comes in all varieties, misknowing, as you say. But the fundamental one is not understanding who we are, not understanding the self. We think that the self is something, an entity. That if you went looking for it somewhere, you'd eventually find it. Well, you can go looking for it all you want. You're not going to find the entity that you think exists. An unchanging self, for example, a unitary self, an independent self. These are all illusions. And modern neurobiology is coming to the same conclusion. They've gone looking for the master self, and they can't find it anywhere.
Wow.
So the self is an idea. The self is a concept. And as a concept, it functions very well. And it's a good damn thing it's a concept, too, because that means it can be changed.
Right. Amen.
You can
to
have
that.
a different kind of self-conception. And you just have to learn the tricks to do that, which is also talked about in my book.
Yes, indeed. Many things are. Well, and I loved about the idea of, and I've been thinking about this so much lately, speaking with sort of religious people, or that, of course, Jesus was not a Christian. Or, Buddha was not a Buddhist.
Yeah,
so people, calm down already. Just calm the bleep down.
So true. That's so funny.
And I was even just in LA, we just had a political election yesterday, and I found that people were getting a little divisive and separated out. And I even found that there were some people who were gathering around a particular candidate, thinking that this particular person was sort of the way, the truth, and the light. But then what I did not care for, I appreciated the more people coming to the party. At the same point, I found that these same people were demonizing other politicians. And it's like, oh, well, this person is so cool and fabulous, and, I'm going to play around with this person, but all those others, are bad, bad, bad. And, that's just not true. I mean, there are many amazing politicians, so guys, just know that, okay? Enough about the demonizing of politicians. But vote already. That's the other thing. Be involved and know that we do make a difference in what we do. So the connection there again with, I'm this party, you're that party, I'm bad, you're good, I'm bad. It's your fault that this happened. No.
It's like Red Sox fans. It's like, will you be nicer to Yankee fans? You guys are out of control.
You can tell the Yankee fans the same thing about the Red Sox.
Pretty much. But the Red Sox fans crack me up. They're pure hatred for Yankees fans.
Oh, my God. Well, thank you for saying crack me up, too, because when I was, you and I were talking earlier, and when I was reading this book, I mean, I had to crack up at myself because I found myself on a number of the pages, and then I even wrote different places, oh, my God, that's a crack up. Oh, my God, because it's like different times you say things like, well, I mean, when a person is very, very sad and very miserable, it's like, well, let's just people take care of me. Okay, no more. Let's just take care of me some more. And I was just laughing so much because I thought, yeah, that has been me before. I can definitely crack up at that because sometimes it's fun looking at us and just laughing, and it shifts everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, when you can look back and laugh at some of the things people stress about, yourself. It's really amazing. You look back like, oh, God, I'm so glad that actually happened because it made me this. It made me that. I learned from it. It's like people that took a hit in the stock market crash in 2000. Well, those people are really good investors now. They're not all sitting in just tech stocks. They learned. And so these points in life that may not seem so great at the time, they're all time capsule releases of wisdom.
Indeed.
Right? And so that's it.
Yeah, if we wise up a little bit about who we really are, what the self is, we don't take ourselves so seriously.
Right,
That's
exactly. We be
right.
nobody. We be nobody.
We be nobody. We
love
definitely be nobody.
It's
so
a great
John,
title.
Isn't it? It just makes people want to read it. I hope
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
So let me ask John. We have like 1 minute or whatever. Okay, so we're rounding this up. So guys, you have been with me. I'm Sunny Chayes, and this is Contagious Optimism Radio. But it's cool that it's video too. But whatever. It's kind of like calling a record a CD, and now we can't even call. I can't keep up with it all. But anyway, it's been so great to have LAMA MARUT here from Australia. And guys, check out his website, lamamarut.org. Actually, that makes life easy. And then David MEZZAPELLE, and you can go to your website. And John, you have it up, right? But it's MEZZ. I want to make sure I do this right, even though I know it. APELLE. So MEZZAPELLE. And then you can also go to the youtube.com Sunny Chayes, I think it's called at this point, to get these later and podcast and share and play. And so it's not just today. People can go on forever. Yikes. Yikes, people.
Enjoy the show forever.
Yes, okay. So
it's like this now forever.
Yeah,
yes,
right.
now forever. So good thing
Exactly.
that everyone's smiling and happy. And
What would you say for now? Not now is now. What'd you say?
It's like like this now.
It's like this now. It's
That's a
like
good
this now.
one,
It's
isn't
like this
it?
right now.
It's like this now, and then we can also be,
I love it.
let us feel the peace of knowing that I don't know.
Yeah, that's
I
good too.
love that,
Yeah.
even though it came, to me, for me, for sure.
How did you connect? How the two of you connect?
Through publicists.
Oh, nice.
Yes, and so, but we're connecting today, and you guys are connected in
Yes.
this little prayer bowl of UBN here. It's so
I
cool.
love it. I love UBN. Thank you guys. You guys are awesome.
Indeed. So, guys, just come to the events, get involved, be with us, sing and dance and play with us, because that's what we love to do. That's why we're here, and it's a very, very joyful group that we play with. That's the most important thing. And so, you know what? It's like, let's laugh at ourselves, let's have fun. And I also want to remind us that we do make a difference. We do have the power of one. We can make the difference, even if it's a smile or if it's a buck or if it's whatever it is. But we just remember we do have the absolute power to make a difference. So until next time, Contagious Optimism Radio, UBN, Sunny Chayes, and like that, and David MEZZAPELLE and LAMA MARUT, bye-bye. Until next time. Bye, everybody.
Hey, listen.